Okay, I speak for a living, and whoo, this is the most intimidating thing. Okay.
Now, you could do a better job of segment intending.
I know.
So, what is intimidate? You don't even mean it.
I don't at all. I mean,
what do you, intimidation?
Here's what I mean. I mean, when I get up on stage and I speak, I come alive. This is like 10 times alive from what I do when I speak. That's what I mean.
Oh, it's really alive.
Really awesome.
When you're tuned in, you're alive, but you're not intimidated.
No.
If you weren't ready.
Bad word.
We don't care what words you use. We're just really going after this notion of when you're segment intending, mean what you say and say what you mean, and let it speak to your strengths, not your weaknesses. Let it speak to your desires, not your absence of desires. Because when you're on stage, you are tuned in, tapped in, turned on. You are for sure. But you're not on stage all that much. It's like Esther, segment intending all day long and then watching an hour of television and sort of doing the opposite in 1 hour that she did all day long on purpose, you see. And so we're just wanting you to be mindful of deciding how you want to feel.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Your time's up now.
Oh. I went through a really hard year. And I had moments that I thought maybe.
All right, so now this is more segment intending.
Okay.
Even though it's true, and even though we know you want clarification about it, you want to create this little bubble of darkness and move it into this segment with us?
No.
So what would you rather do? Would you rather talk about the benefits that that hard year gave you? Yes. Would you rather talk about the desires that are highlighted? You just don't need to deliberately screw up the segment you're walking into with the words you're using now.
Awesome.
Now is powerful. Now is powerful. So prepare where you're going now. We're just saying.
I love where I am now.
Yeah.
I have done the work, and every day gets better, and I love the journey that I'm on. And
Quite
I'm
a different thing, isn't it?
super excited for what is to come.
And you're so close to that what you're saying right now is so authentic. It's not lip service. You really mean this.
Oh, yes.
But you did have to take a minute, because we sort of bullied you,
yes,
into focusing where you mean to focus. That's what deliberate creation is. It's about accomplishing your vibrational stance from which everything is coming to and happening from.
So I have a question.
It's all right. We're ready for your question. We just want to help you focus a little more. Is the question coming from your vortex version of where you're going, or from the now reality in which you are standing? From what vibrational stance is this question coming? Better way of saying it is, what influence are you under as you speak this question?
What influence am I
Are you under the influence of source and inner being? For example, your inner being would ask a question. Your inner being would float the idea to you for a question. I know what I want, and I'm excited about the unfolding of it. And how can I be more keenly aware of it as it's unfolding? That's the kind of question your inner being would inspire you to ask. Where something that's not your inner being might influence you to say, I'm having a hard time, and what could I do to make it better? Can you feel the difference?
Sure. I think for me, this is a question of understanding.
That's fair.
Okay. Sometimes when I'm not in the vortex.
But you know what we always do?
What?
In order to bring you to a place of understanding, we just stubbornly keep saying to you all the things that you already understand, because we know if we can get you focused upon what you already understand, that you'll be able to understand the next thing that you want to understand that you don't understand.
Right.
But if we start from a premise that you don't understand, then nothing that we're going to say is going to cause you to understand. So you do know you're the creator of your own reality, yeah?
Yeah. And
you do know that how you feel is everything, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, ask the question.
I feel like you just answered the question.
We think so too.
I have found that I can create when I'm angry.
Oh yeah, you get what you think about, whether you want it or not.
So
you can't create what you want when you're angry.
Right. So you have a difficult person that you are working very hard to love and send good things to. And sometimes that...
Not working that hard, you called them difficult.
Yeah, I did. That's true. They're challenging for me.
We know, and you want us to side with you.
Yeah. Now, I want to know why sometimes my anger can do more to get what I want with that person than showing them and feeling love towards them.
It can't.
It can't.
That's a flawed premise.
Okay.
But this is why it looks that way.
Okay.
Humans get accustomed to mediocre creating. It's like if you're getting nothing from somebody till you yell at them and then they move something from over there to over there, you say, success. And so you get used to settling for the meager drippings of disconnection. We know that it takes quite a bit of focus to see only the positive aspects of someone who has other aspects other than positive aspects, because you can see and hear and smell and taste and touch in this physical world, and so it feels more real and it yanks your chain. But if you have prepared yourself, if you've done the get out ahead of it work, if you have tuned with your inner being who always loves them no matter what, if you've in segment intended yourself into the loving person that you are, now as they perform those things that used to bother you, even as recently as just now or a segment or two ago, they won't bother you as much, maybe not at all, because you're tuned differently. It would be like accidentally getting on a radio station that is full of things you don't want to hear, vulgarity and rudeness and meanness, and you don't want to hear it, and so you change the station, and then every time you get into your vehicle you set it back on that station again first, just to get mad again, just to be shocked by it again, when you don't have to. Once you start adjusting your tuner, it will calibrate to your natural vibration. It does not take very much to calibrate you to who you really are, and that's why it freaks you out when something causes you to not be there. Esther's like that too. When something upsets her, oh, she's so upset that she's upset, because she knows better and she knows that she could get out ahead of it. She just didn't get out ahead of it. And there are people around you that sometimes they sort of like you to be upset, so they'll give you all the negative news just to see how you react, you see. Well, react however you want to, but get your balance as quickly as you can. So ask your question now.
I did, and I asked it.
Ask it again.
Ask it again.
Abraham, when there are lovely people in my life that behave in different ways, how do I just notice the best of them?
Yes, that's
By
the question.
being
Yes, that's the question.
by practicing the best of you, whether the best of them is showing up or not, by not needing the best of them to create the best of you, by not being so conditional that the best of you can't show up unless it's the best of them, by not turning all of your power over to their behavior.
Right.
By loving the way you feel. Esther, she's so addicted to this little notebooks that she's got. She bought a big stack of them, and she can just hardly wait, and she has a place in her house where that notebook sits there on the table, and it's a new segment, so she just goes and sits there and writes, not to fix the next segment, because of the pleasure that these words generate in her here and now. You get addicted to alignment. You get addicted to being in sync with who you are. You get addicted to that good feeling in your belly, that feeling of love and appreciation, and most of all to that feeling of clarity. And so when you find yourself standing stable in an atmosphere where you used to not stand stable, pretty soon you can't even remember not being stable. And then other people's behavior is a non-issue to you, because you don't create their reality, you create your reality. And then sometimes your powerful positive stance, because when you hook up with your inner being and you're part of that point of attraction, now the probability of evoking from them more of that is millions of times more likely than if you don't do that. You're going to begin to feel like the entire universe is revolving around you, because it is. And when you sync up with your inner being, it becomes so obvious. What Esther's saying to herself when she has moments like you're describing, and she has them from time to time, what Esther's saying to herself is, I don't know why I ever freak out, because I know for sure that things always work out for me. They always work out, so why do I put myself and others through the freak out period? Well, pretty soon you won't, because you will have asked that question enough time. Well, I do it because I wasn't prepared for the segment. When you're little, if a train runs over your toe and cuts it off, you're going to have a special relationship with trains. And you might have a harder time feeling positive about all the other little children are jumping up and down when the train comes, not so much anymore. Esther took her grandchildren to ride the train, and they said, oh, it's a train. How far are we going? And then when they got there, they said, Grandma, is this what we came all the way on the train for? In other words, the train doesn't excite. Maybe this analogy isn't so, oh yeah, you're old, it's good for you. We're playing with you a little bit here. Your relationship with the train has to do with the traumatic experience that you had with it. And so maybe you've had some traumatic experiences, and for someone who really wants to be tuned in, tapped in, turned on, anything less than that is a little bit of trauma. And so if you really, really, really want something and you're focused in opposition to it, it feels really, really, really awful. If you don't care about it, you don't care about it. In other words, if you sort of want it and you're not in alignment with it, it sort of bothers you. If you really want it, if you really, really care about it and it's out of whack, it really, really bothers you. That doesn't make you weak or egotistical. That makes you aware of your emotions, you see. We want you to care about what you want, and we think it's a wonderful thing when you have strong negative emotion, because it means this really matters and I'm really in vibrational misalignment. If somebody called you on the telephone and said, hello, you don't know me, I'm just calling to tell you I will never call you again, you would say, good to know. And you wouldn't feel anything except maybe a little mild amusement about the experience. But somebody you really care about calls you and says that to you, you would be normal to freak out, because something that you really care about looks like it isn't happening. But if you remember that things are always working out for you, and it doesn't matter how it temporarily looks, we have not said this before in this powerful way. All that you've been living, all that you've sifted and sorted through, all of that you've been evaluating has caused you to create a very powerful desire with lots and lots and lots of momentum, and it is coming about. Some people have to croak before they have the realization of it, because as long as they're still in their physical body, they're still complaining about people getting on the airplane before them. But when you discover how unnecessary and unhelpful those feelings of intimidation are, or disrespect are, if you feel disrespected or you feel not heard, and you allow yourself to keep having that knee-jerk response to somebody else's behavior, so that you're practicing that over and over and over and over and over again, pretty soon people that don't usually disrespect anybody disrespect you, because that's the vibration that you've got going on. So what Esther's been doing when she finds herself in moments like that, she'll stop and say, wait a minute, is that really valid? And is that really how I want to feel? And does that even make sense? And is that really what I choose to decide that I feel? And over again, she's choosing the emotion that she wants to feel, focusing on it until she feels it. That's what calibration to how your inner being feels about you works, you see.